Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. आ गया माहे मुहर्रम, हुआ ज़ाका एहतमाम। आ गया माहे मुहर्रम, हुआ ज़ाका एहतमाम।
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال: سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت: دخل علي برسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال: السلام عليك يا فاطمة. فقلت: عليك السلام. قال: إني أجد في بدني ضعفا. فقلت له: أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف. فقال: فاطمة: ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به. فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به، وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ قال: وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال: السلام عليك يا أماه. فقلت: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي: يا أماه، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا جدا. السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله، أتأذن لي أن أدخل معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال: عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآله. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام وقال: السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت: عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال: يا فاطمة، إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت: نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له: عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي عليه السلام تحت الكساء. الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت: السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال: عليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال: اللهم إن هؤلاء من بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال الله عز وجل: يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال لمن جبرائيل: يا رب ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل: هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال جبرائيل: يا رب أتأذن لي أن نهبط على الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله: قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال: السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك: عزتي وجلالي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي معنا تحت الكساء. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وآله. وقال النبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي عليه السلام لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. وقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الله وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيه مغموم إلا وفرج الله همه يا الله ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه يا الله ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته يا الله. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إنا نسألك ندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم وبحق حبيبك محمد وأنت المحمود وبحق علي وأنت الأعلى وبحق فاطمة وأنت فاطر السماوات والأرض وبحق الحسن وأنت المحسن وبحق الحسين وأنت قديم الإحسان وبحق الأئمة التسعة الطاهرين من ذرية الحسين عليهم السلام برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوات. ما رأيت إلا جميلة. When Zainab left Medina, she was the last to mount a horse. She was flanked by the moons of Banu Hashim, the lion of Allah, the delight of her mother's eye, and the garden of the youth of the Ahlul Bayt. But now, she was alone. In the courts of Ziyad, when the event of Karbala had passed, her thirst-cracked lips whispered, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I saw nothing but beauty, Zainab told her family's killers with the ghost of a tired smirk on her face. You see, when Hussein set out, he knew his mission was split into two parts. One part martyrdom and one part love, and if he was to win the hearts in Sham, he'd have to send his bravest. And if you'd look back for a second, you would see that he'd already sent the arms of Abbas, the 10-month-old body of Asghar, and the blessed chest of Zuhair. But no, this was a soldier so powerful she spoke arrows and thrust word-tipped spears into the hearts, with the reminder that she was of the family of the Prophet. And who better to represent in the courts of Sham than the woman who saw nothing but beauty? The inheritor of Moses, who was reminded by God to speak in a soft tone to Fir'aun. The inheritor of Muhammad, who prayed for the forgiveness of those who pelted him with stones. She spoke. The Lord reminded my grandfather of a time like this. He said, for me to never think of those who are killed in the way of the Lord as the dead. Nay, know that they are alive and being sustained by him. So I ask you, O Ibn Ziyad, was it you who have succeeded, or has my flesh overcome yours by the sheer majesty of the truth? Because I look out and I see Hussein stitched in the seams of the oppressed. So regardless of how many times you kill our people, you can never kill a man's spirit and what he stands for. You can attempt to stifle the Shia as much as you want, but people will look at this event 1,000 years from now and see nothing but beauty in it. My brother promised me that his death was not the end, but that it was a new beginning. That his death would speak volumes and write books with the ink of history's martyrs. That his sacrifice would fuel the fires, the Shaykh al-Nimrs and the Shaheed Sadrs. That his sacrifice would teach Shias that ideas are bulletproof. And maybe this is where Khomeini's statement makes complete sense, where he says that you can besiege us economically, but we are the children of Ramadan, and you can besiege us militarily, but we are the sons and daughters of Ashura. And so, sometimes I catch myself asking her, Zainab, what could you have possibly seen of beauty on that day? Because my mind slips back for a second, and I could see that from what was left alive, the garden of the Ahlul Bayt, remained only a small bouquet. Zainab, Kulthum, and Zain al-Abidin, Zuhra, Layla, and Hassan al-Musanna were of the few that remained. Yet dignified with hands chained, they maintained that they saw nothing but beauty. We should strive to be the people who exuded nothing but beauty, that when anyone crushes the petals of a Shia rose, they can be sure that their palm smells of that fragrance. We must begin to echo the whispers of the oppressed, to amplify them into shouts that contest the very foundation of the oppression that sits upon it, such that their voices boom through the mountains and deafen the oppression. Remember, there's a reason the word revolution consists of the word love, and there's a reason it's backwards. And when we understand this, understand that only when we stop interpreting our religion backwards, only when we revolt will each of us be able to call ourselves a lover of Hussein. And each of us too will see nothing but beauty. Salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. Salawat Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You left this world at ransom to pay their hefty price. You left this world at ransom to pay their hefty price, and who would have thought the Prophet's grandson would have to pay it with his life? Ya Hussein, your name sent shivers that even my heart can feel, and the tears that follow of a sorrow so real. They bore witness to the Most High, but how quickly words are born in our hasty tongues, and how quickly they die. They bore witness to your grandfather Muhammad, lest they had forgotten his name, lest they had forgotten who sent him his message and his claim. Fact is, they'd forgotten even before his time came. On Thursday, paper and pen as he lay in pain, the Prophet who lived, suffered, and died for our guidance, but they had the nerve to call him insane? If that's not insane, then what is? And can you explain why they butchered his grandson Hussein? They bore witness to his mother Fatima, unparalleled amongst her kind. They bore witness to his father Ali, the commander of the faithful. What's clear is that the killers weren't in command of their nafs, nor were they faithful. Truth is, the religion died. And if it wasn't for your death, it would have been lost beneath our numbered breath. And so your memory lives on. Your memory lives on, a revolution in a new dawn, echoing across the endless valley of time until today. Until today, where we say we worship truth, but we lie in falsehood, surrounded in a world of true evil and false good, caught in a web of social depravities, decay and corruption by which they promise ease. a world of fatal moralities and spiritual mortalities, where the hearts of men are lost before they are found, and God's purpose for man on earth is drowned by so many shouts of evil, shouts that are spiritually lethal. I look at the graveyard of man piercing into the wooden box that awaits me, struggling against the wind that sedate me, the numbing intoxication born from the cup of this world, blinding man from God. But you taught me better than that. You taught me better than that, Hussein. You taught me better. In fact, you taught me to die in truth than to live in falsehood. And it's all good. Hussein, who knew of sacrifice until the herd of your beloved ruthlessly murdered before you? And who knew of patience until the time you had to endure? And I know it tore you. I know it tore you to watch those who you love and whom God loves pass before you. And Zainab, Zainab, oh Zainab, how many tears can an eye shed? How many drops has your heart bled? He brutally butchered your family and rendered the arid sands of Karbala red. Still, you looked the tyrant in the eye and said, I see nothing in it but beauty. I see nothing in it but beauty. To die in the way of truth, 'tis our duty. Fighting against the army of oppression and cruelty. For certainty, our blood is not spilt in vain. Our blood is not spilt in vain, nor is our suffering lost, nor is our pain. But man knows no bounds and is quick to forget. They took his life and didn't regret. But at last, his death gave us life. Forever grateful for that, lest we forget. For even over 1,000 years later, your blood still soaks the scorching sand. But your memory lives beyond this land, Karbala, where a struggle took place and a sacrifice so grand, Karbala, where the light shines in the darkness, Karbala, where Yazid dies and the memory of Hussein lives past tomorrow, Karbala. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. As a reminder to you all, the daily program for the first Ashra of Mahe Muharram starts every night at 6:30 p.m. with recitation of the Holy Quran and Hadith Qissa, followed by Salam, followed by the speech in English by our guest scholar, Hujjatul Islam Sayyid Moustafa al-Qazwini, followed by Noha and Matam. And then we break for Salat-e-Maghribain. And immediately after the namaz, the Urdu portion of the program begins at 9 p.m. In this hall again with Soz Salam Marcia, followed by the speech by our other guest scholar, Hujjatul Islam Maulana Sakhawat Hussain. And then after his speech, we have the conclusion of the program every night with Noha and Matam Dari. Also keep in mind that the children's programs are ongoing. We have the Al-Mehdi workshops that are in session every night going through Saturday, the 6th of August. Remember that these programs start at 7 p.m. and they conclude at the time of the conclusion of the English lecture. So there's 3 separate workshops that are taking place. We have the program for children under 4 years of age that's taking place in the ladies' hall on the main level right across this hall. And then the 2 other programs are taking place upstairs in the classroom level. We have one program for the children ages 4 to 7, and then a second program for the children ages 8 to 11. So please take advantage of these wonderful programs that are arranged by the volunteers of the Al-Mehdi team. They're doing a really wonderful job to educate the children about the lessons of Karbala during, during these holy nights. The sponsors for tonight's program are the following families: Dr. Parvez and Mrs. Nahid Hamdani, Mr. Syed and Mrs. Sabika Hasnain, Mr. Nadeem and Mrs. Shafaq Bukhari, Mr. Abbas and Mrs. Sajida Hussain, Mr. Zain and Mrs. Amreen Razak, Mr. Salim and Mrs. Zeba Rizvi, as well as Mr. Shahryar and Mrs. Asma Haider. Kindly recite Surah Fatiha for the marhumeen of tonight's sponsors, as well as for all of our marhumeen and for those marhumeen who have no one to recite Fatiha for them. And there's also a special request for Surah Fatiha for marhum Haji Anwar Ali Humayy. Surah Fatiha. Also, there's many within our communities who are not feeling well, many across the world who are suffering from various hardships, including poverty, hunger, various natural disasters, religious persecution, war. So let us pray to Allah during these nights that their suffering may be relieved. Kindly recite with me verse 62 of Surah Namal 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibal mustara iza da'a'u wa yakshifu su. 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 Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Also, just a few other quick announcements. As you all know, the cases of COVID, unfortunately, are present within our communities, as well as rising here in New Jersey. So again, we're very respectfully asking that everybody bring their masks to the program and keep them on throughout the duration of the program. This is not only for your safety, but also the safety of your fellow Azadars who are attending the program in person. And we also very respectfully ask that anybody who is not feeling well in any way, anybody who has a fever or any kind of cold symptoms, to please kindly refrain from coming to the program in person. Both of the speeches are being broadcast live online on YouTube. You can certainly join us on YouTube and follow there. And when you're feeling better, certainly return to join us in person. And along the same lines, we are also very respectfully reminding anyone who's bringing food into the masjid for nazar or niyaz to make sure that that food is packed, ready for distribution, as opposed to leaving it out, in the foyer. We thank you in advance for your consideration of these requests and your anticipated cooperation with those requests. Thank you very much. And just a few other quick announcements about some of the upcoming programs. The annual Muharram procession, which takes place in New York City, will take place on this Sunday, August 7th. It will start at 1 p.m. and conclude at 5 p.m. So please try to attend that along with the representatives from all the other centers. The annual Shab-Bedari program that's organized by Anjuman Naujawanan Ali Akbar will take place right here at the Masjid on the 20th of August. Please make note of that date as well. And then finally, one other program we wanted to remind you of, the annual Imam Hussain Day seminar that takes place the following week, August 27th, right here at Masjid Ali at 1:30 p.m. So kindly make note of these upcoming programs. And then also just a few other quick reminders in line with Masjid Ali's commitment to the education of our youth and the betterment of our youth. We have 2 schools that are functioning here. The first is Sadiq School, our full-time Islamic school. As you all have seen, the beautiful new building is up in the back. Hopefully you've been able to see that. So the school will start to utilize that building this fall. The first classes there will take place September 12th. So enrollment for Sadiq School is underway. There is enrollment for the pre-K classes as well as kindergarten and the first grade classes. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to enroll your children, to receive this first-class education in a nurturing Islamic environment. Our speaker has spoke about the merits of that. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that opportunity. Any questions regarding Sadiq School, you can look at the website, sadiqschool.com, or speak to Dr. Kharazi in the men's section or Mrs. Munira Kharazi in the women's section. And also a reminder that our Sunday school, our weekend Jafriya school, is also going to restart after Muharram. The first classes will be held on October 2nd. Registration is ongoing for that as well. For more information, you can go to the website, jafriyaschool.com, or seek more information in the men's section from Dr. Moustafa Jafri, or in the women's section from Dr. Abda Jafri. And remember, all of these programs that take place here at the Masjid, first are taking place because of the blessings of Allah, and secondly, from all of your prayers and your generous ongoing financial support. So we urge you to keep donating throughout this month of Muharram in the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family and companions. So without any further delay, it is my honor to invite our guest speaker, Hujjatul Islam Sayyid Moustafa al-Qazwini, to please address tonight's majalis. Please welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أنبياء الله جميعا وعلى سيدهم وخاتمهم حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة. يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. We must admit and accept that in many Muslim countries and Muslim societies, women are still being marginalized and abused. And this is a fact. We cannot deny it and we cannot hide it. And we have a long journey to go, a long way to go to treat our Muslim women with dignity, with respect that they deserve, with the equity and the equality that God speaks about throughout His book. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam promotes through his behavior, through his tradition. In this very first verse, in the beginning of chapter 4, Surah An-Nisa, verse number 1, God says, O mankind, revere your Lord. اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة. God created all mankind from one soul. It was one human soul. We are the dichotomy of that soul. This soul was divided into two parts. One of them represents male, the second represents females. There is no superiority or inferiority here. We are equal. In the eyes of God, we are equal. Maybe we have different tasks, different responsibilities, different characters, but in the eyes of God, we are one. خَلَقَكُمْ مِن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Any society that tries to marginalize half of its population, almost women are half of our population. Sometimes in some countries they are more. They are the majority. In fact, the population of women in the whole world is more than the population of men. So any society, any country, any religion that tries to undermine the importance of half of its population, that society is not going to proceed further. That society cannot achieve justice. And here, my friends, when we speak about the rights of women, as I mentioned the other night, men should not feel insecure. Men should not be offended or upset, because we are speaking about of your daughter too, your mother, your sister, your aunt, not just your wife. And definitely if you have a daughter, you love your daughter. You adore your daughter. You want your daughter to have her entire rights. You do not want your son-in-law, her husband, to degrade and disrespect your daughter. So we have to stand for the rights of women. When we stand for their rights, we are standing for the right of the entire society. When we stand for the right of women, we are standing for the right of men too, the right of children too, the right of the entire society. We don't have any competition or race between men and women. They do not compete with each other. They complement each other. They complement each other. They need each other. Without women, men. In fact, God says, in a good society, in a virtuous society, men have to defend women's right, and women have to defend men's right. God says in His book, وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, the believing men and believing women, بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are supporters, protectors, helpers of each other. They are not enemies. They don't turn against each other. وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are the protectors and helpers for each other. We have to stand for the rights of women, we the Muslims. Islam cannot be introduced to the rest of the world if our women are marginalized and neglected. God says in His book, a promise in the Quran here, God says, لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. His wish, His will, which will happen one day, is to make the Islamic faith the faith of the entire humanity and mankind. But then we have to work for it. We have to earn it. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen just by accident. We the Muslims have to earn it. We the Muslims have to work for it. And one of the areas that we must work upon is women's right. In fact, the sessions of Ashura, the season of Muharram, the revolution of Imam Hussein, the message of Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura was about women's right, was about empowering women. Imam Hussein was empowering them, the Umayyad were degrading them and suppressing them. Imam Hussein brought his family on purpose. He brought Lady Zainab on purpose to show the whole world that this is my other half. Half of the job is on me, the second half is on my sister Zainab alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Unfortunately, we see some of our narratives, the classical, the traditional narrative, Islamic narrative, is disrespecting and degrading to women. If you look at some of the books of hadith, especially that belongs to some other traditions, alhamdulillah, Ahlul Bayt, the tradition of Ahlul Bayt is safe. The tradition of Ahlul Bayt is authentic. Because Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet, they receive their knowledge, their education, their direction, their guidance from their grandfather, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet receives his guidance from his Lord. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. But some of these stories, we find them in other traditions that chose to follow other sources, not Ahlul Bayt. What do you find? You find the hadith that says when the Prophet ascended to heaven, he had a tour of the heaven, Isra and Mi'raj. Isra is the nightly journey from Mecca to Jerusalem. Mi'raj is the ascension, physical and spiritual, both. The ascension of the Prophet to the heaven. God gave him a tour. Jibreel alayhi salam gave him a tour of heaven and hell. He passed by the hell, he saw the hell. So the hadith alleges that the Prophet, when he passed by the hell, he came back and he said to his companions, رَأَيْتُ أَكْثَرَ أَهْلِ النَّارِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. I found the vast majority of the population of hell are women. This hadith is baseless. And it is contrary to the Quran. Contrary to the Quran. Nowhere God says in his book that the majority of paradise are men or women or children or elderly or black or white. Nowhere. God says whoever does good, مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى. It doesn't matter about your gender, your age, your color, your nationality, your tradition. We don't care about these things. All what we care is about your work, your good deeds, your good intention. من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فلنحيينهم حياة طيبة ولنجزينهم أجرهم بأحسن ما كانوا يعملون. We will make their life beautiful, rewarding life for them, and the hereafter, the akhirah, they're going to be among the successors, among the successful ones indeed. This hadith is baseless. This hadith is the product of the patriarch society. A patriarch society. A society during the time of the Prophet. The Prophet struggled to put an end to patriarchy. The Prophet was fighting patriarchy. He was struggling to put an end to it. The Prophet was struggling to make this point that men and women are equal, treat them with equality. Women are not a commodity. Women are not sex objects. Women are not slaves. They are equal in the eyes of God. But patriarchy at that time was very strong, and it is still strong. Still strong. This narrative has to change nowadays, my friends. We have to change it. The new generation has to change it. Our women, our men, our parents, our mashayikh, our teachers, our speakers, our scholars have to change it. But unfortunately, from time to time, we still hear some people who also subscribe to other traditions when they stand and they deliver such speeches about how women are inferior, how women should blindly obey her husband, blindly bow down before her husband. This is not the tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It reminds me of a sheikh, radical sheikh, who did not believe in women's rights, who believed that women here just to serve men, to entertain men. This is why God created them. So one day, he was not on the same page with his wife, obviously. They would quarrel, they would fight every single day. One day the fight broke just before the Friday prayers. He was about to wearing his dress and go to the mosque to address the congregation in the Friday prayers. So there was a misunderstanding between him and his wife, and the fight broke, and she or he started to yell at her. He was so angry, he was so frustrated, and he left the house with anger. On the way to the mosque, he decided to change his entire sermon into a sermon against women. So he reached the pulpit, he stood on the minbar, and he began to give a speech talking about how women are naive, women not to be trusted, not to be treated in goodness and kindness. They are not honest. Be careful of them. Do not consult them. Do not even share them in what you do. And all this nonsense. Do not allow them to leave the house. Do not allow them to learn. It was basically a Me Too movement, but a masculine Me Too movement. Not a feminine, masculine. So he turned the entire audience against women. And of course, any man has some grievance in his heart, against his wife at that time. He provoked the entire audience against women. And then he asked the audience, "Oh people, whoever agrees with me, stand. Let me see you. Do you agree with me that women are evil, women are bad?" Of course, 99% of such men who go to such mosque and listen to such sheikh, definitely they are against women. So they stood, all of them stood, the entire mosque, except one man at the end. He did not stand. So the sheikh was so happy. He said, "See, everything I said is true because you agree with me. You accept everything I said against women. You agree with me. Except that poor man, maybe he's afraid of his wife. He did not stand." The man at the end, he shouted, "No, Sheikh, I'm not afraid of my wife, but my wife broke my legs. I can't stand." We have this. We have this mentality, my friends. We still have this mentality in many parts of the Muslim world. In many parts of the Muslim world. But then, women have to defend their rights. Women have to take the initiative. Women have to fight for their existence, for their moral and Islamic rights. And there are 4 points I'd like to mention tonight about empowering women. These are the most important and vital points that women should follow. Women should exercise if they want to occupy an important position in the society, if they want to contribute to the well-being of the society, then these 4 points are very important for them and for us. Number 1, the issue of affection and compassion and love. God had favored women above men in this section, in this faculty of affection. He has given them more affection than us. We are affectionate too, don't get me wrong. We have love too. But women, they have more affection, more compassion, more mercy, more love, more understanding for the family, for their kids. And this is a gift from God. Without it, we cannot survive. God has given part of His compassion, His mercy, His rahmah, bestowed a huge chunk of it on women, on mothers, so they can raise us. Otherwise, a mother that goes through the pain of labor, the pain of pregnancy, where God says, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَحْنًا عَلَى وَهْنٍ وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. We enjoined insan, man, human being, to be careful, to be dutiful to his parents. And then immediately he goes to the role of women. Immediately, he does not mention the fathers, he mentions mother. He mentions mothers. حَمَلَتْهُ, his mother was bearing him, carrying him, wahnan, with weakness over weakness. Truly weakness. It's not easy, my friends. We speak about it. We read about it, but we don't experience it. Our mothers do experience that. But still, she's merciful. Still, she puts the child before herself. The other day, I saw a clip. This is not just for the humans, for the animals too. I saw a clip. It brought tears to my eyes. I saw a clip. Somewhere in Africa, there is a river. A gazelle was trying to cross the river with its mother. Once it reached the middle of the river, there was a crocodile there. Check it out. It went viral. See it for yourself. This is a message from God. We learn from these things. So the crocodile noticed that the gazelle, the baby gazelle, is swimming, trying to reach. So he tried to rush to it. The mother was still standing on the bank of the rivers. The mother of the gazelle noticed that her baby is in danger. So she rushed herself to the river to intercept the crocodile. She allowed the baby to reach the shore, the bank of the river, and she was devoured by the crocodile. She gave herself in a broad daylight. You can see it very visible. Who inspired this mother? Who? Other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Other than the merciful God. She goes too far. Our mothers go too far to protect us. They risk their life. They endanger their life. They starve. They bear the cold, the heat, the hardship, sometimes humiliation to feed their kids. This is why the hadith says, if you come on the day of judgment, while you have done the a'mal, the all good deeds of the messengers of God, every good deed any messenger of God has done, you do it too. But then you are disrespectful to your mother. God would not enter the doors of paradise for you. Be careful with your mother. Be careful with your parents, specifically with your mother. Your mother is something else. Your mother is non-replaceable. No one can take the place of your mother. No one can be like your mother, no matter what happens. So God has endowed them with affection, and therefore they have to use it to protect the family. This is the glue that keeps the family together, and we need their affection. Look at the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet Muhammad, God gifted him with Lady Khadija alayhi salam. And Lady Khadija had two means, two ways of supporting the Prophet. One, her wealth. Khadija was one of the three multimillionaires of the people of Mecca. There were three multimillionaires. One of them was Lady Khadija bint Khuwaylid alayhi salam. So she made her wealth available to the Prophet. She puts her wealth, entire wealth, at Prophet's disposal. He used her wealth to protect his community. But she had something more important than her money and her wealth. Her love, her affection. The Prophet survived on the affection of Khadija alayhi salam. 13 tough years the Prophet was preaching in Mecca. And he was faced with hardships, with ridiculing, with attacks, with violence. Every single day comes back home, Khadija is waiting for him. Khadija embraces the Prophet. One day the Prophet did not show up. She was worried about him. She went to the streets of Mecca until she found him. He was bleeding. He was too weak to move. She went to him. She embraced him. She brought him back home. She protected the Prophet and covered him with her affection, with her love. The Prophet needed the love of Khadija. After Khadija, immediately was the love and affection of his daughter Fatima alayhi salam. So we really urge our sisters, our wives, our mothers to capitalize on what God has given them, to use it. And we ask men to encourage them to use their affection, not to stand in their ways. Encourage your mother, encourage your wife, Encourage your sister, your daughter, to give her unconditional love to her family, to her children. Sometimes women suffer. They do suffer. Sometimes women say, we give our love, we give our service, but nobody is appreciating. Nobody is taking a notice. Nobody is saying thank you to us. It happens, my friends. It happens in some families. It happens with some husbands, with some children. They do not appreciate the help of their wives, their mothers. They don't. But I say to those mothers and wives, continue doing so. Continue. Do not give up. If a human being does not appreciate, there is a Lord, there is a God, there is a Creator there who appreciates and who says, whatever you do, وَقُلْ اعْمَلُوا فَسَيَرَ اللَّهُ عَمَلَكُمْ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. I can observe. I will reward you for things that you are doing for your family. So do not give up. Continue, persevere, and continue your love. And one more thing. Sometimes women experience some types of abuse, mental abuse, sometimes physical abuse, which we have zero tolerance for it. Especially physical abuse. We Muslims, we have to have physical tolerance for it. There is no room for abuse in Islam. There is no room for domestic violence in Islam. Zero tolerance. And we have to educate ourselves and our generations that this type of behavior is unacceptable. It will earn God's wrath and God's anger. And it has bad consequences. Do not destroy yourself and your family by using physical or mental or verbal abuse against your family. When the Prophet was asked one day, what is the right of a wife upon her husband? He mentioned a few things, but he said the most important thing, more important than clothing, food, lodging, residence, more important is what? Is to treat her nicely. Is to treat her with humility, with humbleness. Treat her as a human being. Treat her as your true partner. خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. This is your comrade. This is your friend. This is the one who is delivering a family for you, raising your children for you. Do not to break her heart. Do not destroy her spirit. This is the most important thing. Good treatment, honorable treatment. وَأَن لَا يُقَبِّحَ. The wording of the Prophet, وَأَن لَا يُقَبِّحَ لَهَا وَجْهًا. Do not make your akhlaq, your manners ugly with your family at home. If you have anger, throw it outside the house. Come back home with a new spirit, with a smile, with the greetings. So, sometimes there is abuse, but I say to some mothers and some wives, do not return abuse with another type of abuse. The problem is not going to be solved. Return abuse and anger and frustration with your affection. This is the medicine. This is the remedy. God has given you so much affection, so much compassion, so much love. Try to use that. Try to use it. And I know many women were able to change the behavior and the manners of their husbands. Of course, sometimes over a long period of time. These things do not happen overnight. Over a long period of time, because of this, their steadfastness, their perseverance, their sabr, their affection, they were able to keep the family together. They were able to change their husbands. It happened. It happened, my friends. It happened. So this is number one, affection. She is the center of affection. She has to utilize it and make the most out of it to keep herself empowered, not to lose herself. Once a mother loses her affection for her family, the entire family is lost. The entire family is lost. Why many women petition for divorce? Nowadays, if you go to the Superior Court and look at the records, Who is initiating the divorce process? Mostly. Men or women? Nobody knows, alhamdulillah? You don't live in America? Only me? Who initiates divorce? Mostly. 99% of the times, women are the one who, at least in the Muslim community, this is what I know, 99%. But if they give it, and I will speak about divorce and the disasters of divorce another night, inshallah. But if they hang on to their affection and they approach the matter from an affectionate point, which God has given them, and they are able to do that, they can still keep the family together. If they stay away from anger, they do not resort to anger. Angry when a person comes to the Prophet and says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm an angry man, an angry person. What do you advise me? What should I do? The Prophet said, obviously I'm going to advise you not to be angry. He said, what's next? He said, not to be angry. He said, what is next? Not to be angry 3 times. La taghdab, la taghdab, la taghdab. Because you destroy yourself and you destroy your family. So this is number 1. Number 2, the second element of empowerment of our women is the element of piety and righteousness. My friends, nowadays we live through a time where materialism is encroaching on every aspect of our life. Materialism is overriding our faith and our values. Nowadays, when they want to judge any person, be it male or female, when they judge that person, how they judge him or her? By how much money he owns. Not by his character, not by his values, not by his faith. How much money does he own? This is how much he worth. This is how the society looks at life nowadays. When someone goes to ask for a daughter's hand, a lady's hand, what is the first question they ask him? In many societies, the first question they ask him, how much money you have? Do you own an apartment? Do you own a house? How much is your income? How much you make? What is your salary? These are the first questions. Money is important. We need money. And God says about money, if you use it for the right cause, it is good. وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. We cannot survive without it. God speaks about money as being a good mean for our survival. But money sometimes could be a source of our destruction. Don't put materialism number 1. Put akhlaq number 1. If you want to succeed, ask about the person's akhlaq. Ask about his manner. Ask about how he treats women. How does he treat his mother, his sister? How does he treat his neighbor? Is he generous? Is he kind? Is he thoughtful? Is he considerate? Does he have commitment? Does he have patience or not? These are the qualities that are going to endure. Money comes and goes, my friends. Money comes and goes. But these values, they remain. So women today, being the centerpiece of the family, the magnet of the family, they need more dosages of piety and taqwa and righteousness. And the rest of the family, they learn from the mother. I know a man one day told me that I went to his house and the food was very delicious. I said to him, you are very lucky. Your wife is a very good cook. He said, but you know, Sayyid, what is more important than this food, what she provides me with? 2 things. I said, what are they? He said, I used to drink alcohol. Before marriage, I used to drink alcohol. I loved alcohol. But since I married this honorable lady, she made me quit. And she was so patient with me. She was never angry. Though sometimes I drink inside the house. Sometimes I come back home drunk. But she never yelled at me. She never threatened me with divorce. She kept reminding me, nasiha, advising me. A beautiful advice. She was so patient. Until one day, I woke up. And I decided to quit. The second thing, I did not to pray. Maybe occasionally, sometimes I go to the Friday prayers. But it was my wife who stood next to me, and she kept reminding me, encouraging me to pray, until I was able to restore myself, and now I never miss any prayers. These are the gifts that my wife gave me, more important than this food, than this delicious food. The mother, the lady, the female, the wife has a power she can influence. God has given her this ability. This is why I say sometimes to some people who marry women from other cultures, other faiths. Not all of them are bad. Many of them are very good. But I say, listen, the first teacher of your children is your wife. Be careful. Be careful. This lady that you are going to marry is going to inspire and influence your children, whether you like it or not. Your kids are not going to follow you. You are busy. You are outside the house. You come back home tired. You can hardly speak with your kids. The one who spends her time with the kids is your wife, is the mother. They are attached to her. They learn from her. They emulate her. So if that lady is going to remain non-Muslim, most likely your kids are going to be non-Muslims too. And I have seen this, my friends. I have seen it in this country. In this country. If that lady wants to be following this madhab, this school of thought, or that school of thought, your kids are going to follow the same school of thought. They follow the mother, they don't follow the father. There are only few instances, very rare, that a son, a daughter followed their father's religious tradition. Most of the times they follow the mother. They follow the mother. Be careful. You are making an important decision. This is why our women, we learn from them. From our women, we learn chastity, we learn modesty, we learn piety. They infuse us with piety. If the mother establishes the prayers at home, most likely the kids are going to follow suit. They learn from the mother. If the mother reads Quran and dua and ziyarah, most likely the kids are going to pick it up from their mother. They're going to learn from their mother. She's a leader. And her role is very great. And this is why sometimes she has to be more careful with her behavior. More careful with the dunya. Use the dunya, but do not be overtaken by the dunya. I know some mothers, some wives, they establish prayers, fasting, all other religious duties, but they have some weaknesses here and there. Some of these weaknesses are, she's pious, but she's attached to shopping. High-end shopping. The brands. She spends a lot of money. She doesn't care. Sometimes she goes to the market. This is a type of obsession that we both have. Men and women we have. Sometimes I'm not against shopping. Shopping, if you are shopping something necessary, essential, you must do so. But most of the times when we go to the mall, when we go to the market, we might end up purchasing things that we don't really need them. They are not necessary. Sometimes we buy shoes, clothing, furniture. Sometimes we store them in the garage. The other day, a lady said, I was enchanted with shopping. Whenever I have money, I go. If I don't have money, there is the credit card. Until the day, and I put them in the garage, and sometimes they are in the boxes. We don't open them. Until the day we decided to move from that house, I discovered, wow, we have a huge mall in my backyard. Untouched and used. This happens, my friends. Go today and check out how many clothing you have you don't use. How many shoes you have, you as male or female, that you don't even use. How much jewelry you have, you don't use. And there are some people who are suffering today. Today I was reading in one of the Muslim Arab countries in the Middle East, people are looking for what? Not for fish or meat or chicken. They are looking for just simple bread, a loaf of bread. It's difficult for them to find a loaf of bread. A Muslim Arab country. We have to reach out to those people. Stay away from the dunya. Stay away. Imam Ali, when he speaks about muttaqeen, the pious, he says, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. عظم الخالق في أنفسهم فصغر ما دونه في أعينهم. When God becomes greater in your eyes, in your heart, dunya becomes insignificant, very small. You don't get attached to it. One time I gave this example. In our neighborhood, there is a very affluent place called Newport Beach, California. Some of you are familiar with it. Our mosque is not too far from this. And there is an airport there, John Wayne Airport, Santa Ana Airport, Orange County Airport. Sometimes I go to Newport Beach to walk. It's a peaceful place, family friendly, very quiet. I pass by mansions. The average price is $20 million. The average price of a mansion. So huge, magnificent. But then sometimes I take off from the same airport and we go above the island, Newport Beach. I look at the same house. 2 days ago I was walking here. The house looked big. Now the house is so insignificant, so small. The house did not change, but my perspective has changed. I was walking next to the house, attached to the house, close to the house looked big. Now I'm above it, 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet above it, from a different altitude, from a different level. I'm not close to it now. It looks so small. This is the dunya, my friends. The more you get attached to the dunya, to your wealth, to your property, to your business, the more you forget about the akhirah. You forget about the akhirah. But if you allow yourself to detach yourself a little bit, and always keep in mind, how do you detach yourself? Always keep here in your mind that one day I'm going to leave. One day, this property, this car, this business, this office would not be mine. They're going to take me to a small grave, small hole. The Prophet ﷺ says, Man fi dunya dhayf, we are all guests. Guests. وَمَا فِي يَدِهِ عَارِيَةٌ, loaner. Whatever you have in your ownership is عَارِيَةٌ. عَارِيَةٌ means loaner. You have to give it back. وَالضَّيْفُ مُرْتَحِلٌ, the guest has to check out. We checked in, we're going to check out. I am here in a hotel 2 minutes away from here. I checked in Friday. I am checking out August 10th, inshallah ta'ala. I'm checking out, I have to check out. This entire life is a hotel, my friends. It's a big hotel, believe me. We checked in, some of us 15 years ago like this gentleman here, or 12. Some of us 60 years ago like me, Moustafa al-Qazwini. Some of you 80 years, 90 years, inshallah, Allah bestows more health and life on you, inshallah, with prosperity. But we must check out. We have to check out. We have to prepare for that checkout. It's not for us here. We are here in temporary visa. Temporary visa. There is no residency in this life. God says to the Prophet, we do not allow residency to anyone, including you. وَمَا جَعَلْنَا لِبَشَرٍ مِّن قَبْلِكَ الْخُلْدِ. Khuld means residency, eternity. No eternity here. So detach yourself. Once you detach yourself, you can save that money on that expensive shoes, on that expensive clothing, on that expensive ring or jewelry. Save it, give it to people who are in need. You can do that. Many people are doing that. Many people says, why should I buy a shoes for $200, $300? $50, $60 is enough. The rest, I can give it to a family in need. This family, I can save their dignity. I can save their lives. We can do that if we have the will And this is the purpose of the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is why we are here, to understand life better and to get closer to the akhirah and to live up to our duties and our moral responsibilities. There are some women, people respect them for their jewelry, for their attire, for what they wear. But this respect is fake. But there are some women in our community, in our society, that people do not look at what they wear. People look at what they carry in their mind and their hearts, the values that they carry, the contribution that they provide. This is a real admiration. This is a real respect. This is what remains. When a lady can give through her mind and her heart. When a lady is attractive through her aql, her brain, her soul, her behavior and her manners. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third thing that our women need to do, and of course our men too, but tonight it's about empowering our Muslim women, is sacrifice. Nothing in this life is free, my friends. The akhirah is too. God says in the akhirah, nothing is free. إِنَّمَا تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ إِنَّمَا تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. You are rewarded today in the akhirah for what you have been working in this life. It's not a free. It's not a free. Requires sacrifice. But the family requires more sacrifice. And this is why a mother who sacrifices her life, she's not going to lose her children. She's not going to lose her family. She's going to see the best return. God is not going to let her down. Some women get frustrated. They work hard day and night. And then she wakes up one day, why I'm working? Why I'm wasting my time with those people around me? Nobody is appreciating. Remember, your sacrifice is not going to be wasted. Would not go in vain. Keep working. Keep sacrificing. Be with your kids. Cut back. Sometimes I say to my sisters and mothers and daughters and friends, please, cut back at some of the engagements outside, some of the parties, the showers, the weddings, the whatever. Spend more time with your kids at home. Spend more time with your kids. They need you. We have two types of mothers today. One of them is only a babysitter, a nanny. Maybe she cooks, she cleans, only. But then there is another example. Not only she cooks and she cleans, she is murabbiya, a nurturer, a teacher, a mentor. You have to be from the second type, not the first one. A babysitter you can hire. You can hire from outside someone to clean your house, someone who can cook for your kids. But someone to teach them and nurture them, impossible. This is your job. This is your duty. So spend time at home. Spend time at home. Cut back on other engagements. I'm not saying deprive yourself from your friends, but your priority should be always my kids, my family. They need me. They need you in this country. They need you during these times. The more time you spend with them, the more investment you do with them, the more reward you're going to get. Spend time. Teach them the values. Teach them the love for Islam. Teach them the love for Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Teach your family. Inspire your family. We cannot bring someone from outside to teach our children the akhlaq. You are the builder. We have to build men and women. And the real builder is your mother, is your wife. My friends, the ancient Chinese, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, they tried to protect themselves against enemies and invasions. So what did they do? They built a huge wall. I've seen that wall. I climbed that wall many years ago. And many of you did. But then within the first 100 years of building that huge, gigantic wall, there were 3 invasions of China. 3 times. Armies invaded China. But they did not invade China. They did not climb the wall. They couldn't. The wall is too tall and difficult. What did they do? What did they do? They bribed the guards. They bribed the guards. So China, rather than building a human soul, they built a physical wall, thinking that this only physical wall can protect their land. They forgot about building a human character and a human soul. This is why they lost. The wall could not protect them. Why? Because the man was weak. Mothers did not work on their children. They did not build strong character for their children. They did not infuse their children with the principles of loyalty, with the principles of faith, with the principle of loving your land and your community and your people. They didn't. This is why they failed. They were invaded 3 times because of guards who sold themselves in return of some money. Mothers are the one who builds our characters. Today, if we have strong soldiers, it's because of their mothers. I heard a story today, just today, from a man from among you, a man who loves benevolence, who loves charity, who loves to help out. He said, it was my mother when I was a little kid. She used to cook food for our neighbor, poor neighbor, and she gave me the dish, and I take it to that poor neighbor. Once I knock at the door and she opens the door, I see the smile, the joy on her face. These pictures are still in my mind. These pictures encouraged me and inspired me to continue doing the benevolent work today. It was his mother. You all here, including me, we are the products of our mothers. We are here for Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein himself is the product of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. The role of women is great, and we have to encourage them. We have to stand with them. The journey is long, and we are both into this. Today, when you go home, if your relationship with your mother is not good, if your relationship with your wife is not good, with your sister, with your daughter, go and fix it tonight. Fix your relationship with the female members of your family. Fix that relationship. It will earn you the pleasure of God, the mercy of God. You know what Imam Hussein did on the night of Ashura? Beside the prayers, the salat, beside the Quranic recitation, he spent most of his time taking care of the little babies, especially those who are females. Especially those who are females, knowing that tomorrow they're going to be bereft of their father. You know, Imam Hussein, on the day of Ashura, part of his job was to defend the camp, but when he came to the farewell of his family, he spent half of his time with his sisters, with his daughters, the other half with Lady Sakina in the tent. He went inside the tent for a long period of time. She's only 5 years old. But Imam Hussein wants to set the record for us, an example for us, that your daughter is an amana. Your wife, your mother is a trust from God. Take care of them. This is the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Tonight is attributed to Habib ibn Mudahir. In fact, those women in the camp of Imam Hussein made a huge difference. It was those women, those wives, those daughters who encouraged their husbands and their fathers to stand with Imam Hussein. Let me share with you the story of Habib ibn Mudahir. On the eve of Ashura, Imam Hussein had the last meeting with his companions in the tent, the eve of Ashura. He said to them, my companions, Bani Umayyah, they only want me. They don't want you. They are not after you. They are only after me. And if they capture me, they don't care about you. They're going to release you. وَإِنْ ظَفِرُوا بِي لَمْ يَعْبَأُوا بِغَيْرِ. I am the one who is most wanted. So I am telling you tonight, please, my companions, tonight, with my full conviction, from the bottom of my heart, I am asking you to leave me tonight and go back home. Leave me. You don't have to kill yourself. But one thing I ask you, each one of my companions, ashab, will take the hand of one of my family members, وَتَفَرَّقُوا عَنِّي فِي سَوَادِ هَذِهِ اللَّيْلَةِ فَإِنَّ الْقَوْمَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ أَحَدًا سِوَايَ. Take advantage of the darkness of tonight. Each one takes a hand of one member of my family and leave, go back. What was the reaction? The first one who stood and he said, never, Ya Aba Abdullah. How can we go? There is no beauty in this life. There is no essence in this life after you. There is no value. That was Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam. And then the ashab, one after the other, they came one after the other saying, we are not going to leave you. Burayr said, Burayr, one of the companions of Imam Hussein, he said, oh Imam, if they capture me, if they cut me into pieces, if they burn me 70 times, so I can leave you, I would never do that. I am with you until my blood is blended with your blood, Ya Aba Abdullah. So Imam Hussein said, if this is the case, you are insisting on remaining with me, staying with me, ask your wives and your women to go back to their families. You know why? Because سَتُسْبَى نِسَائِي وَأَخْشَى عَلَى نِسَائِكُمُ السَّبِي. My daughters, my sisters are going to be taken captives, and I don't want your women to be taken captives. Habib ibn Mudahir stood. He came to the women's section. He called upon his wife. He said, I have something important to tell you. My leader, Imam Hussein, says, سَتُسْبَى نِسَائِي وَأَخْشَى عَلَى نِسَائِكُمُ السَّبِي. Tomorrow morning, after Ashura, after the battle, our family, my women are going to be taken as prisoners, captives. And I don't want your women. So now, my wife, I release you. I want you to go back to your family. All of a sudden, his wife cried. She said, Habib, have I ever offended you in my life, in my entire life? Have I ever upset you in my entire life? He said, no. She said, then why do you want to go alone to paradise with Hussein and leave me behind? My fate is the fate of Lady Zainab alayhi salam. Whatever happens to Zainab will happen to me. I'm not going to leave this family alone. This is one example. Another example, Wahab al-Kalbi, who was a convert. He was a Christian. Him and his wife, and he was a newlywed, and his mother. Three of them, they joined Imam Hussein. On the way to Karbala, he converted to Islam from Christianity. They joined the camp of Imam Hussein. On the day of Ashura, the mother comes to her son Wahab, her newlywed son. She says to him, Wahab, I want you to go and fight and defend Imam Hussein, defend the truth. We have accepted Islam. We converted to Islam. Let's crown our conversion with martyrdom, with shahada. What is better than shahada? Especially before Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He said, of course, mother, af'alu wallah, by God, I will do that, of course. I'm so happy to give my life for Imam Hussein. So he took to the battlefield. He was fighting for some time and until he came back. When he came back, he said, oh mother, are you happy with me now? I was fighting, defending. She said, no, never. La wallah hatta tuqtala bayna yaday Abi Abdullah. Until I see you being martyred before Imam Hussein alayhi salam. His wife, she jumped. She said to him, please, don't leave me. We are newlywed. I need your presence. Do not bereave me of your presence. Stay with me. The mother said to him, if you want the intercession of Rasulullah, go and fight. If you want the goodness of this life and hereafter, go and fight. He went fighting again to the battlefield. Minutes later, he heard his wife from behind, يا وهب قاتل دون الطيبين أبناء الطيبين. ذرية رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. Oh Wahab, his wife was telling him, Wahab, continue to fight. Wahab, I want you to fight. He turned back. He saw his wife. He said to her, what did change your mind? Why did you change your mind? What happened? Minutes ago you were reluctant. You refused that I go and fight. She said, لا تلمني يا وهب إن نواعية الحسين كسرت قلبي. Don't blame me, Wahab. I just saw Imam Hussein standing and crying, beleaguered, distressed, alone, crying, ألا هل من ناصر ينصرنا? Any helper, any person, any faithful in God to come forward and protect the camp of Muhammad wa al Muhammad. ألا هل من معين يعيننا? So I couldn't see Hussein being beleaguered. I want you to continue fighting. He was fighting until he lost his two arms. Few minutes later, he was martyred. His wife rushed to him. She was wiping the blood from his head while she was sitting there. She prayed. She said, congratulations, Ya Wahab. Congratulations. Now you are in the presence of the Messenger of God. And I ask God to bestow martyrdom on me too so I can join you. Minutes later, one of the armies of Bani Umayyah was standing there. He dealt her a fatal blow on her head. She was the first female martyr in the camp of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Wa Husayna, wa Sayyidah, wa Shahidah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Read this verse with me, please, 3 times for the healing, the shifa, the recovery of those who are afflicted with sickness, with diseases, those who are not able to make it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. يا الله. اللهم من على مرضانا بالشفاء والعافية. Bestow healing and recovery on all those who are sick, all those who are suffering from hunger, starvation, loneliness, war, those refugees, the entire world. Oh Allah, bring your blessings, your recovery on all of them, inshallah. Accept our a'mal during these holy nights. Keep us on the path of Imam Hussein and his family. Keep us at the service of Imam Hussein and his family, inshallah. And hasten the reappearance of our Mawla, our leader, our master, our savior, الإمام الحجة بن الحسن المهدي المنتظر. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين. All together. حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين حسين الغريب الغريب الحسين حسين الشهيد الشهيد الحسين. Salams on the head of my Mawla Hussein. Salams on the lips of my blessed Hussein. For days in the desert your body remained. With thousands of arrows your shroud they became. And on Arba'in where the millions will pray, the grief and the mourning for you, Ya Hussein, Hussein.
al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein.
The screams of the children thirsty for water, the duty was sent to Abbas, our savior. The Lion of God could be seen riding faster to reach Al-Furat and please his Sakina. But how does he fall from the horse with no hands? The flag of Islam lying bare on the sand. Hussein,
al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein.
A lady was seen peering out from the tent, a cry from the heavens that Zahra presents. Oh shimmer, why on his chest? The sword stained in blood was Hussein's final test. Hussein, to your mother, it's time to ascend. Your trials in Karbala have come to an end. Hussein,
al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein.
Sakina would cry every night for her father, and Zainab would cradle Hussein's little daughter. But when they presented his head on a platter, Sakina could not bear to live any longer. No one could comfort or soothe young Sakina. She died in the prison with Zainab beside her.
Hussein, al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein.
The fire, the burning, the tents up in flames. O Zainab, protect Imam Ali bin Hussein. The soldiers of Yazid want to beat us with chains. The women and children are crying in vain. Hussein, al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Gharib, al-Gharib, al-Hussein, Hussein, al-Shahid, al-Shahid, al-Hussein. Ya Hussein.
हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता। ये दाग कलेजे से मिटाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता। इतने तन शबीर पे हैं तीर नुमाया, इतने तन शबीर पे है तीर नुमाया, बच्ची को भी सीने से लगाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता, हमसे गम शबीर बुलाया नहीं जाता। कासिम की न उम्मीद रखो मादर कासिम, कासिम की न उम्मीद रखो मादर قاسم لاشے کی یہ حالت ہے کہ لایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا کہتے ہیں علمدار کے دے موت خدایا کہتے ہیں علمدار کے دے موت خدایا منہ پیاسی سکینہ کو دکھایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا اٹھتے ہیں کبھی بیٹھتے ہیں مولا اکیلے اٹھتے ہیں کبھی بیٹھتے ہیں مولا اکیلے کیا لاشائے فرزند اٹھایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا اتنے تن شبیر پہ ہے تیر نمایاں اتنے تن شبیر پہ ہے تیر نمایاں بچی کو بھی سینے سے لگایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا یہ داغ کلیجے سے یہ داغ کلیجے سے مٹایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے غم شبیر بلایا نہیں جاتا ہم سے یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
Inshallah, Namaz Maghriban will start at 8:32 p.m.
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.